Like you, I've experienced quite a bit since I first came into this world. For me, 50 or so years ago on the second floor of St. Francis Hospital in Trenton, New Jersey. Much of it has been joyful, but a lot has been difficult and emotionally painful. I see myself as a regular person who has been through some tragic experiences, felt them deeply, and thought about them a great deal. I am a physician and practicing psychiatrist with training in brain biology and psychology, and I approach my profession from a holistic point of view. I've had the privilege of being alongside countless people going through intense and often life-changing situations. All of these relationships are personal to me, and through these relationships and my own experience, I've come to think the way I do about trauma and the devastating role it plays in our lives. Before deciding to apply to medical school, I had a career in business. My only experience with healthcare to that point involved visiting older relatives in the hospital, mostly first and second generation Italian immigrants, some who served our country in World War II. You'll hear all about my Uncle Rango in Chapter 5. As they aged, these relatives needed more care than they were used to receiving from trusted local doctors, and the shift to visiting hospitals wasn't easy on any of us. The doctors and nurses always seemed so busy and remote, and they rarely communicated with us. When they did, we often struggled to decipher what they meant, and I was often left feeling intimidated and confused. I knew there had to be kinder, better ways to treat people in such difficult situations, but at the time, I'd never have guessed that I'd eventually devote so much of my life to paying attention to people and doing my best to help. My father is a businessman, so it seemed practical that I'd become one, too. I eventually got a job at a first-rate consulting firm, but after a while in the field, I began to feel stagnant and trapped. It felt like all of my options were played out, and everything was going to be downhill from there on out. I became depressed. I was only 25, and that's when my youngest brother killed himself. Jonathan was 20. He shot himself in the home we grew up in with a handgun my father had been issued during the Korean War. My mother found his body. After the shock decreased, my family and I tried to understand what seemed like such a senseless tragedy. My brother and his girlfriend had recently broken up, and we believed he might have been experimenting with drugs. But these issues didn't explain Jonathan's decision to take his own life. In retrospect, I understand much better.